Hi, Senator. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. I didn't hear you there for a while, but you're back.
I hear you loud and clear now. I said you were I said a lot of nice things about you. Just trust me. Mostly that you've spent more time in Minnesota than any other candidate. And despite that, took the time on Saturday afternoon to call a Purple Heart recipient, Iraq War vet, a wounded warrior by the name of Rusty Ort, which was pretty darn nice of you. So thank you for that, too, by the way.
Well, I look forward to the opportunity anytime to congratulate and thank our folks, our men and women in uniform who stepped forward and sacrificed for this country. And it was an honor to talk to him and congratulate him. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so, Scott.
You know, Minnesota has been called by one of your opponents in this race a beauty contest. I want to play a little clip of what Mitt Romney told us yesterday and give you a chance to respond to what's happening tonight in Minnesota.
We're concentrating on getting delegates, and we're spending our time and spending our money in the states that actually have delegates that will be bound to the candidate who wins the election. And so we have not participated in the straw polls and beauty contests as much as some of the other guys have, but we're working very hard to get support and put those delegates together. And so far, with New Hampshire and Florida and Nevada now decided, why we're leading in the delegate count and hope that we'll be able to continue that going forward.
Your reaction to that?
Well, then why did you participate in the Iowa caucuses? Because the Minnesota caucuses are exactly like the Iowa caucus. So, I mean, this is spinning. This is what the Romney campaign does, and this is what Governor Romney does. They're constantly. It's just a political exercise. It's what the pundits and the experts tell him to say. I'm going out in every single state, and we're campaigning in every single state, and because this is the vote that Minnesotans are going to have in this election right here. And obviously the delegates are selected through a more complicated process, but it's the caucuses are where the people of Minnesota get a chance to speak and let their preference known. And that's why we're here, because we care about what the people of Minnesota have to say. That's why we're going to come to North Dakota and do the same thing. I look forward to being there very soon and campaigning across the state of North Dakota for their caucuses, and we'll be in every one of the 50 states and all 57 of them, because of course there's you got D.C. and Puerto Rico and other places. I'm looking forward to going to the Virgin Islands to do a little campaigning too.
Well, your message is resonating in the heartland. I'm glad to hear you're coming to North Dakota. Appreciate that. And we've talked a lot over the years about the energy similarities between Pennsylvania and North Dakota. North Dakota more on oil, and absolutely. Pennsylvania obviously more on gas. But obviously with the fracking and everything that's going on, and it's a game changer. But your message. I mean, the one place Romney hasn't won is the heartland. You're winning in Iowa. You're winning leading in Minnesota. I mean, what does that say about your candidacy compared to his?
Well, look, I mean, Iowa's a swing state. Missouri was we're campaigning there today and have been down there, and they've got a primary today. And again, it's a beauty contest primary, but a lot of that's the way a lot of these processes work. But it's the chance for the people of Missouri as well as Minnesota to speak, and we're gonna recognize their voice and their ability to be able to reshape this race. I think we're gonna have a very good night tonight. And I think it's going to change this race, and it's going to launch us in a position where we can show that we're the conservative that can beat Barack Obama. That Governor Romney has some real fundamental flaws when it comes to the way he governed in the state of Massachusetts that make him uniquely disqualified on the issue of health care, cap and trade, and the oversight in the Wall Street bailouts. These are two important issues to give up in this election with the president who is trying to have a group of elites manage this country from the top down, and you can't have candidates who agree with him on some of the biggest issues of the day.
Only have 3.5 minutes left, so I'm going to go rapid fire through a bunch of questions here. One is a question that comes from a listener in Canby, Minnesota, that actually saw you in Laverne this weekend and said, I don't have a question but a comment for the senator. Stick with the high road. It is resonating in a big way. The sniping in which Gingrich and Romney are engaging is self-destructive. I'm praying for you. Yesterday, Tim Pawlenty, on behalf of the Romney campaign, who obviously saw some of your poll numbers, came out just, guns a-blazing against you, saying that you're portraying yourself as a conservative, and you're not. That you're clearly been part of the big spending establishment in Congress. That caused you to punch back a little bit and say he was Obama light, and that's what I think Becky's talking about. Is the high road work?
Well, here's what I've said: is that I did not take the bait on all of this personal back and forth between Romney and Gingrich. Criticizing Governor Romney for his time at Bain Capital and criticizing Speaker Gingrich for his work after he left Congress and getting into, a lot of really personal things that even Governor Perry tried to get into with Mitt Romney as to who he hired, as a gardener. I mean, that's just baloney. I'm not going to get involved with that. But on the issue, am I going to go out as I did yesterday in Rochester, Minnesota, and laid out the case that Governor Romney is not the best person to put forward on the issue of health care, and why he absolutely compromises our ability to make the case against President Obama on the biggest issue that confronts the economy of this country, which is the takeover of the healthcare system? I don't think that's sniping. I don't think that's negative. I think that's going out and talking exactly what people want us to talk about. They want to talk about the issues that matter to them at their home and in their life. And when I talked to a person last night in Denver who told me that, he didn't like President Clinton, but, President Clinton never did anything to hurt his business, or the same thing with President Bush. But he's now got in politics because every single day President Obama does something to destroy his ability to be able to make a profit. And it comes down to Obamacare. It comes down to the regulations that are destroying manufacturers in this country. And you bet I'm going to go out and talk about those issues. And I'm going to talk about how I'm better suited to take on President Obama than Governor Romney. And that's not negative campaigning. That's talking about the issues of the day.
Speaking of the manufacturing sector, which you've spent a lot of time talking about, there was an ad in the Super Bowl. I know you were busy campaigning in Minnesota, but for Chrysler, 2-minute ad that talked about it being halftime in America and how, isn't this great, we're back. A lot of people are offended by that ad because they say, that's America? A bailout of Chrysler gets them back in the game, now owned by an Italian company. Were you offended by the ad?
Well, I didn't see the ad. I was out campaigning, but I was up in Minnesota, but the answer is, here's what people need to know. Had the government not bailed them out, the only difference between where Chrysler or GM would be today than where they are is that the United Auto Workers Union wouldn't have a big ownership share of them. That's what the bailout did. It simply stuck it to secured bondholders and creditors and gave their piece of the business that they would have had coming through a bankruptcy, and they gave it to the United Auto Workers Union. It was using government money to pay off labor unions and nothing more than that. And the idea that somehow or another the government bailout saved these companies is simply false. If they'd have gone through a structured bankruptcy, my feeling is they would be stronger today, not weaker than they are.
That is the better argument. Rick Santorum, God bless you. Thanks for checking in on Caucus Day. We appreciate it very much.